Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening, depending on wherever you are joining us from. My name is Jennifer McDonald from the International Solid Waste Association. I'm coming to you from my house, and I'm introducing today's webinar on cytotoxic waste in Western Balkan countries, challenges, roadblocks, and solutions. Thank you so much for connecting with us from all around the world. I am pleased to announce that over 100 people have registered for this webinar from over 45 countries. And today we will be joined by 6 experts on healthcare waste who will discuss the local situation of cytotoxic waste in the Western Balkans. You are please encouraged to type in your questions in the questions window to your right. We will be choosing a few of these questions for the speakers to answer at the end. I will now just briefly go through the flow of the webinar. First, we will begin with an introduction of ISWA, followed by an introduction of the speakers, setting the stage of the local situation, particularly in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia and Montenegro, Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo, continuing with a panel discussion and finishing off with conclusions and the Q&A session. This webinar is brought to you by a partnership between our valued national members, BaSWA, Solid Waste Association of Bosnia and Herzegovina, MaSWA, Macedonian Solid Waste Association, CESWA, Serbian Solid Waste Association, and ISWA, particularly ISWA's working group on healthcare waste. Before handing over to our speakers, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Veolia, the City of Rotterdam, Ecomondo, and Messe Munich. They are our main sponsors, and we are grateful for their support. Furthermore, we would also like to thank our Platinum members. Without the generosity of our sponsors and Platinum members, it would be hard to do what we do. For instance, bringing this webinar to you free of cost. I'd like to take a brief moment to introduce ISWA, as several of you joining today are not yet members. The International Solid Waste Association is a global, independent, and non-profit making association working in the public interest and is the only worldwide association promoting comprehensive and professional waste management, the transition to a circular economy. We are open to individuals and organizations, members from the scientific community, public institutions, and public and private companies from all over the world working in the field of waste management or interested in waste management. This was the only worldwide waste association that enables its members to network with professionals, companies, and institutional representatives. ISWA's mission is to promote and develop sustainable and professional management worldwide. We have members from over 100 countries, 3 of whom are here as speakers with us today. We count on the support of our members, so if you are not yet a member, please take a moment to visit our membership page by visiting the link on the screen. You can also reach out to our membership manager, Mr. Daniel Purchase, by writing to him at dpurchase@iswa.org. We have flexible membership options with discounts for students, individuals, and companies from low-income economies and online members. So it is my pleasure to introduce the first speaker.
Hello everyone. Greetings from Macedonia. My name is Daniela Nelepa. I'm president of Macedonian Solid Waste Association and also the coordinator of this project. I hope that this analysis could be useful for further development of national strategies of managing the waste stream.
So let's introduce the next speaker. This is Ms. Bojana. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good all to you present today. My name is Bojana. I'm General Secretary of Serbian Solid Waste Association, and I will present today analysis results of waste management of cytotoxic waste in Serbia and Montenegro.
And this is Professor Slobodanka Pavlovic. And please do introduce yourself to the attendees in the webinar.
Hi, greetings to all. I'm so glad to be in such a good company today and that we can share our experience from this project. So my name is Slobodanka Pavlovic. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm professor at environmental faculty. Today I have a double role. First of all, I'm speaking on behalf of BaSWA because the official representatives of the organization were not able to participate, but luckily I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina and I'm a member of BaSWA as well. So I think I have all necessary competence to represent my country. And then I'm also one of the authors of this report, and I will join my colleagues, Viktor and other members of the working group and team to discuss and answer your questions later.
Thank you to the three of you for introducing yourselves. We also have invited two waste experts, Viktor and Omar, who will introduce themselves during our panel discussion today. So I think I will now leave this to Boba, or Professor Pavlovic, to please provide your presentation on an introduction of cytotoxic waste, as well as the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Okay, thank you, Fa. So at the very beginning, just a brief introduction about what the cytotoxic waste is. You all know that cytotoxic drugs are intended primarily to the treatment of the cancer. They are known to be highly toxic to the cells, principally through their action on the cell reproduction. Many have proved to be carcinogens, mutagens, or teratogens. Once inside the body, their action is not generally tightly targeted, and they can produce side effects both to the patients and others who become exposed. So workers who come into contact with cytotoxic drugs and related waste are also at risk of the exposure and possible adverse effects. So cytotoxic drugs are used in different healthcare settings, in laboratories, manufacturing, research facilities, and also animal clinics, veterinary clinics as well. Cytotoxic drugs are also being used for the treatment of other medical conditions, serious medical conditions, not only the cancer. What is cytotoxic waste? Cytotoxic waste is waste associated with cytotoxic drugs, which contains chemicals that are toxic to the cells. This includes also the materials, equipment, and residue that are contaminated by cytotoxic drugs. The toxicity of the cytotoxic drugs means that they can present significant risk to those who handle them. So occupational exposure can occur when control measures are inadequate. So during drug administration, handling patients' waste, transport and waste disposal, or cleaning some space. Relevant legislation concerning the disposal of the cytotoxic waste must be followed. So why? Because cytotoxic waste is highly hazardous and should never be landfilled or discharged into the sewage system. So we have small quantities of this particular waste into ratio to others healthcare waste streams, but this one can make such a big impact to humans and environment. So I think you can see why this topic is so important and why our main objective of the project is to see what is the current situation in our region, I mean Western Balkan region, to analyze generation, levels of management, current treatment technologies, and potentials for the improvement. So now about situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just a brief introduction. So that you have a big picture about our small country. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a small country with about 3.3 million inhabitants. So that you have an idea when I present certain figures, how small are we? Nevertheless, we are so complicated. Why? Because Bosnia and Herzegovina is a complex federal state with confederate elements. It consists of two entities, the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Republic of Srpska. But bonus to that is our Brčko district. So why am I saying this? Because the management of certain issues, including waste, is the responsibility of the entities. So in such a small country, we have the, so to say, duplicate laws and regulation concerning the management and waste from waste in general, and then in a healthcare institution as well. So the importance of BaSWA in this situation is really, really helpful and very big, because BaSWA is dealing with all three representatives, the two entities and Brčko district. So their role is really, really big regarding the waste. So what about current situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding cytotoxic waste? At the beginning, we could not tell you what the situation is, because there is no official database on the quantities of the healthcare waste in general, and then as well for the cytotoxic waste also. So how much waste do we actually produce? We could only say we don't know. So then we entered this project, and through the approved and formed questionnaire, we received some particular data that we analyzed. And in this data, we can see that in Bosnia and Herzegovina, health services are provided in 28 hospital type institution, 18 in Federation, 10 in Republic of Srpska, and 1 in Brčko district. So cytotoxic waste is not produced in all of these hospitals. Some of them did not give us feedback or not provided data, but some of them yes. And this we only have data for 2 hospitals regarding amounts of the cytotoxic waste, a hospital from Banja Luka and Doboj. But then again, these amounts were questionable, because first hospital is double size bigger than the first one, and the amounts are more than 4 times bigger in the smaller hospital. So then again, we could not give you the right answer, how much waste do we actually produce. So regarding report, what are the main findings according to the assessment of the questionnaires? So in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is legislation dealing with the management of cytotoxic waste, and most healthcare institutions that produce cytotoxic waste are aware that there is a legal framework. But also all establishments use internal policies to manage cytotoxic waste. And from the responses, we could see that guidelines are not the same in each institutions, and they are leading to a different interpretation of how waste category, this waste category is labeled, stored, and disposed. So almost all establishments recognize cytotoxic waste as hazardous waste, and that there is a legal basis for the appointment of responsible person, so to say, focal point for the cytotoxic or healthcare waste management inside the hospital. But however, there is no continuing education and no education plan at all, which can lead to improper handling of this waste category, as well as endangering the health of staff, patients, employees of the healthcare institution, and then the local population as well. So regarding reporting, in Republika Srpska, institutions are required to submit reports on waste quantities on the environmental fund, while in Federation, reports are not submitted on a regular basis. Few healthcare institutions keep records, internal records about their amounts, but then again, we do not have official document with official amounts of waste produced in healthcare institution. In most institutions, cytotoxic waste is separated, packaged, and characterized as the separate waste stream. The problem is that there is no harmonized legislation on packaging colors, so we have different colors in Federation and Republika Srpska and Brčko, so the staff are not familiar how to safely transport and store this kind of waste. Also, one very important issue and point is that there is no technology for the cytotoxic waste in treatment in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and most institutions use third-party services for the transportation, storage, and export of cytotoxic waste, not only cytotoxic waste, pharmaceuticals and chemicals as well. We are mainly exporting to the Austria or Hungary, so international. These third parties, they have valid license and permits to carry out this activity. But waste is taken from the hospital on a dependency basis, from institution to institution, from every 15 days, then monthly, up to twice a year, once a year, or once in 2 years. So it's really not a great situation regarding this topic. So then again, how much cytotoxic waste we produce? So to answer this question, we need to have precise measurement of the cytotoxic waste is performed in one of the hospitals in Bosnia and Herzegovina, University Clinical Center of Republika Srpska. The assessment, not only just here, we during this measurement, we also measured in one hospital in Serbia and one in Macedonia. The assessment involved measuring of waste quantities that are generated during chemotherapy administration. And thanks to the assessment, we can answer now that in Bosnia, we are producing 0.36 kilos per patient. So this is all for me for now. I hope I'm within the time, and it is my pleasure to hand over the presentation to my colleague Bojana.
Today I will talk about situation in Serbia, also in Montenegro, because in the knowledge that Montenegro do not have ISWA national members. It was agreed that the existing national members, SESWA, utilize their professional connections and for collection of relevant information about the cytotoxic waste management also in these countries. SESWA is Serbian Solid Waste Association and established 2006 with the aim to promote modern waste management principles that are economically acceptable for Serbia, as well as the development of legal and institutional framework that will support development of waste management sector in the Republic of Serbia. Also, SESWA is ISWA national member since 2007. Management of in the Republic of Serbia based on data service and data source, more knowledge of the analysis of the current situation has been obtained, and hospitals in the hospital in the Republic of Serbia have different practice concerning pharmaceutical and cytotoxic waste management due to different level of education of the staff on this issue. And current cytotoxic waste management practice include collection of waste from healthcare facility by 3 major authorized operators and removal of waste for treatment to Austria or Hungary. Also, there are several smaller operators that collect medical waste from healthcare facilities across whole Serbia, and who then transferred it over to one of these 3 largest operators. There is currently no cytotoxic waste treatment facilities in the Republic of Serbia. It is expected that company from city of Zrenjanin, Remondis. I saw some people that are from the Remondis company here with us, and they will put into operation a thermal waste treatment plant incinerator after receiving a trial permit in 2020. Also, based on the submitted form of the dangerous waste movement document on the portal of the Environmental Protection Agency, filled by 3 authorized operators that transport and export hazardous waste. It was considered that in 2018, 76.72 tons of cytotoxic waste was exported for the treatment in another country. And as you can see on this graphic of total amount of cytotoxic waste generated, more than 70% are infusion system, about 5% are scrap objects, and about 20% are drug packagings. Also, according to the data from the Environmental Protection Agency, show that in 2018, out of total 328, only 62 healthcare facilities, including healthcare center, clinical center, state, specialist state and private oncology clinics, submitted an annual report on the types and the quantities of medical waste generated. And that analysis has showed that clinical center generated the largest quantity of pharmaceutical and cytotoxic waste in all regions. And based on this data, a total amount of 31.3 tons of cytotoxic waste was generated in 2017, while in 2018 this amount increased to 40.1 tons, and the final result is 0.22 kilos per patient per annually in Serbia. Also, we have a situation in Montenegro. The quantities of cytotoxic waste generated in Montenegro on the basis of data from the medical waste management plan for the period of 2016-2020, and amount to 6.88 tons annually that they have, and they generated. The current practice in Montenegro are based on the storage of cytotoxic waste at the point of origins, and temporary storage within institution and handing over to an authorized operators. And on this graphic, you can see, according to this plan, the largest share of hazardous medical waste generated in public health institution is infection waste, about 80%, followed by sharp objects, 8%, chemical waste 5%, pathological waste 3%, and finally pharmaceutical waste and cytotoxic waste, contaminated packaging waste 2%. And that's from me.
I'd now like to introduce Daniela to take us through the Macedonia, Albania and Kosovo, please. Thank you, Bojana.
Thank you.
Hello from my side again. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to present the results for our analysis we have collected in the project assessment of the cytotoxic waste management in South, West Balkan countries, Macedonian, Albanian and Kosovo. Just brief, just a second to take another slide. Just for like a brief reminder that MaSWA has become a national member of International Solid Waste Association, ISWA, in 2015. From then is official representative of Macedonia. All information from the collected data will be presented by my assistant, Tamara Trajkovska. So please, Tamara, start with our presentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. So I would like to continue with the further presenting of the results we have about MaSWA. So we'll start actually with presenting the results for Macedonia first, and then Albania and Kosovo. So according to the national legislation and the rule book for healthcare waste management from 2007, cytotoxic waste management has been identified as a separate healthcare waste stream, and therefore is being treated as such. Internal policies are the next important part of the report. So internal waste management plan is a part of the intra-hospital infection prevention. The nurses in the hospitals are responsible for hygiene, IG, and waste. Also, education and training are a part of the workplace training procedures. They're a part of the infection control and prevention. The training is done in 1 week per year. So there are actually three public and one private institution which are generating cytotoxic waste management in Macedonia. But the main one is the University Clinic for Oncology and Radiotherapy in Skopje. According to the official reports for 2018, around 22.6 tons are generated in this institution, which is exactly, more precisely, 350 grams per unit. It's estimated that almost 90% of the patients are treated in the University Clinical Center in Skopje. It's important to say also that this amount, which is measured, refers to all healthcare waste. So it's together with the infectious waste and the cytotoxic. So it's not. Actually, it's separated in the healthcare, in the hospitals, but it is not segregated afterwards with the transport from the licensed companies which are taking it to the centers for incineration. So this is kind of a huge problem, because firstly, it has not a correct and efficient segregation. The cytotoxic waste is incinerated in the country, not outside the country, but it's actually just one facility that is an incinerator in Skopje, Macedonia, and that is Drisla landfill. But also it's like outdated and old. It's from very 8 years now. It has a negative impact on the public, and it said that it should be for improvement. Therefore, only one license is also Drisla, but besides Drisla, there is one more. It's called Eco Club, and it's private license facility. However, it's only for infectious waste where it is treated by autoclaving. So it's a different treatment of the same cytotoxic waste. Now we will continue with Albania. So for Albania, the healthcare waste management is regulated with specific guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health. The law of waste from 2003 states that processing and elimination of hospital waste is carried out through incineration in specifically designed establishment by the Minister of Health and the Minister of Environment. In 2011, Albania Health Ministry distributed 7 hydroclaves to hospitals and other medical institutions, including one in Tirana. There are 3 companies which are licensed for waste collection and export. Only one of them, actually the main one, is Poly-Eco. And the company Poly-Eco, actually the waste from the company Poly-Eco is further sent for incineration in specific EU countries, for example, in Greece. And for the final, I would like to say for Kosovo, Kosovo is not a party to the BaSWA Convention, and given its lack of suitable treatment, disposal facilities, there is an urgent need for improvement in this sector. Both biohazard and cytotoxic hazard symbols for identifying the healthcare waste are used. So this means that infections and cytotoxic waste can be mixed together and treated together, which is not by the European standards. Based on the data collected by KEPA, it is noted that the treatment at such waste is increasingly growing every year. Also, we would like to add here for Kosovo that the environmental agency in Kosovo is responsible for collecting all data related to the waste generation and movement to all generators for which are obligated to present an annual report. According to the information we gathered, there are 3 licensed companies in Kosovo for export of waste. However, only one of Greek environmental protection engineering was identified. So we have a lack of information maybe here and a lack of proper further research in the Kosovo area. The country from 2018 issued by the European Environmental Protection Agency states that some small incineration plants are burning without generating energy, aiming to reduce the amount of infectious waste and open burning waste in illegal landfill, which is of course not allowed. So here I would like to actually end with our presenting our results for Macedonia, Albania, and Kosovo.
Little introduction as to who I am, and then we'll go through our possible solutions and strategies and how we can drive this forward. I'm Anne Woolridge, as you've probably already heard. By day, I am a Chief Operating Officer of a consultancy, dangerous goods safety advisor, work very much with the technical aspects of medical waste. And I'm also currently the technical lead for the National Health Service for England with respect to COVID-19. And I've just seen the question come up on that, but we'll deal with that later. This project was originally, the inception was a couple of working group members saying, we think there's a problem with cytotoxic waste, particularly in the Western Balkans, through lack of treatment facilities. But until we know what we've got there, we can't really measure it. So a proposal was written, taken to the Scientific and Technical Committee, tweaked a little bit, and they very kindly funded this project, which lasted about 18 months. One of the reasons that the Western Balkans was selected is because there's already a lot of knowledge there. A lot of knowledge of how to do things, not necessarily a lot of knowledge of what's been happening in the background. So the research was really about finding out what was happening there and how to find out what was happening there. So this model that we've come up with as to how to measure it could be translated to other parts of the globe as we go. I'm going to come back to this slide. So slide 38, we're going to come back to, because we're going to move on to the discussion parts now. So say this is a project particularly close to my heart because I do work with hazardous waste, and it's about trying to manage the environmental impacts of these and reduce the environmental impact really. So we're going to come back to slide 38 at some point. So the panel discussion now, the speakers will come back on stage, but I'm going to direct some of the questions specifically to the speakers ourselves. So really starting with Viktor and Boba. If we could have Viktor and Boba back on the stage, please, because they were the original authors of this cytotoxic waste report, and they came up with the initial concept. So can you give us a summary? I mean, there's a lot, it's a collective writing of this report, but Viktor, can you give me a quick summary of Boba as to what you'd expect to find in this report, which I think is available to the participants? We're going to distribute the link for the report as well.
Okay.
So Viktor and Boba, just give us an indication.
I can take over this if you agree, Viktor.
Yes, thank you very much. You were Viktor Sorter.
Feel free.
The report consists of 9 chapters. So the first 2 are related to the background, aims, and specific object of the project. Then the 3rd chapter is very important, I think, because through the use of available literature and our experience in practice, we have dealt with the risks associated with cytotoxic waste. So due to their inherent toxicity, high-level precautions should be used when handling cytotoxic medicine to ensure patient safety and to prevent also occupational exposure and environmental contamination. So beyond patient safety, cytotoxic drugs can be a safety issue for the personnel involved in their handling. Concerned about these risks for the personnel handling these drugs have been well described in numerous research papers and also in the literature. So we try to summarize that in this chapter. Then the 4th chapter is related to cytotoxic waste treatment. So we know that it's highly hazardous and should never be landfilled or discharged into the sewage system. There are a couple of recommended disposal options worldwide, and we briefly listed them, like from return to original supplier, incineration, chemical degradation methods, chemical neutralization. Maybe Omar can tell us a little bit more about this later. In 5th chapter, we are explaining methodology of the assessment, and then chapter 6, we summarize data that we are collected for each country's questionnaires and presented as each country report. Chapter 7 is cytotoxic waste stream assessment through measuring of the amounts in waste in 3 hospitals, as I mentioned before, Bosnia, Serbia, and Macedonia. The measurement was agreed with organizations to be conducted in such a manner as not to change their standard operating procedures and patient comfort during the chemotherapy. So it was also agreed with the workers to perform every day working routine, so the results represent current practice and waste amount. So really important. And this was crucial chapter, for example, for Bosnia and Herzegovina, as I mentioned during the presentation, because we do not have any official data. And then at the end, we have chapter 8 with some conclusions and recommendations, and chapter 9 related to the literature that we are using while writing this report.
Thank you. I think that's a really good summary of the content of the report. It is very comprehensive, very well written report. It's quite well structured, so as people you can pick bits about it as well, so particularly looking at the technologies. We're going to come on to some of the questions from the audience later, but Viktor, you pushed me very hard in the first place to start this project, and total support, but can I just ask you, what made you focus on this particular topic?
Well, I have spent 20 years working in Balkans region, and I have been working in all of the countries across Balkan in the healthcare waste related issues. The thing is that generally the infectious waste is more or less taken care of, but the problem is what are the other waste streams that are coming out from the hospitals. I have a colleague of mine who is saying that these are the foster childs of the healthcare waste. So basically, it's a very limited attention paid all across the world, not only in Balkan, but almost everywhere. These waste streams are simply neglected. The thing is, as Boba indicated, we were trying to look at the health and safety issues, the environmental issues, everything which is related with patient safety. Everything that comes out of the hospital that has to be treated in order not to cause harm afterwards. We took all of these things into consideration, and also on the top of it, knowing the countries where we live, it was simply interesting to figure out how and what would be the best applicable practice for the future. And this is where we hit I think that I am going to scare you even bit more since we are finished with this project. Working with ISWA, together with ISWA national member, it was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant because it was working with the people who are already into the waste, who knows what are the challenges and what are the practical operational issues. It was interesting because this came out to them as a specific waste stream which nobody really knows a lot about. For the colleagues coming from the solid waste management. And therefore, I think that this triggered a lot of interest in their side to open up different questions with the hospitals and with the generators actually and operators of the waste treatment technologies. It was absolutely a fantastic role, if I may say.
So were you also able to engage with the ISWA regional development networks, because obviously not every country's got an ISWA national member. So did you manage, well, I know we sort of extended our links out, but did you also manage to work with the regional development network within ISWA? Were they helpful to you?
Well, that was helpful. That was helpful in regards of collecting and sharing information, especially. I mean, when we were related with the countries that do not have direct ISWA membership. We have also used some of our personal and professional contacts, as we have done it here in Macedonia. I know that Bojana has done the same for Serbia and for Montenegro in particular. It was really helpful. It was working with BaSWA is like having a not only a database but also some sort of a comfort blanket that can cover you when you are in a situation where you don't know what to do. So you can always refer to your colleagues for a advice at least.
Yeah, can I extend that now, extend that question to all of you, all the people that are involved in the direct collection of the data, so Daniela, Bojana, Boba, what were the particular challenges with getting this data? One of the reasons we were allowed to pursue this is because we said we just didn't know where to start, but we had to start somewhere because we knew what the problem was, but we weren't sure how we were going to collect those data. So are you able, between you, to answer us how you managed to overcome the challenges of the data collection, please?
Yes, I can start. Yeah. So I think this whole project was one big challenge, you know. So you have 6 countries, of which 2 do not have national members. And the challenge was to find responsible people who know what they are doing and how to collect data and what to do with this data. So I think the big advantage of this project was that Viktor and I speak almost all languages that are official in Western Balkan countries, so which made communication much easier. For example, Bojana from Serbia was very kind and translated the questionnaire into local language. So for example, we use it for Bosnia, Serbia, and Montenegro, so that the percentage of the completed questionnaires would be as high as possible, that the language barrier is not obstacle for the national members for hospital institutions. So I think that we all learn from this that ISWA, as Viktor mentioned, has excellent network of members and experts, and if it weren't for that, we definitely wouldn't be talking about this topic today. So when you find people who know and what to do, they want to do, so everything else is really easy.
Can I bring Daniela at that point? Daniela, did you have any particular challenges with collecting the data from the region that you were working in?
Yeah, okay. In our case, we have the language barrier because we need to translate also the questionnaire in Macedonian and Albanian also. We have some challenge with the process of data collection from some institution. Therefore, we had to contact authorities for the needed information. Therefore, we had some delay in sharing information from some institution. From that, for us, that was a big challenge because we have the language barriers and we have the same problem with some institutions.
Bojana, is that a problem that you had as well, trying to get the language barrier and trying to get people to understand what you were doing and why you wanted to do it?
No, we didn't have that problem. We had a good cooperation, really, a good cooperation with the Environmental Protection Agency, good cooperation with 3 major operators. Also, we tried to contact all clinic centers, and they was involved in all these projects, all activities, and try to fulfill the questionnaire. But the great problem in these countries is data of the cytotoxic waste, because they put everything in one bag, and they for only this part of waste in the hospitals.
So we can see that through this project there have been challenges. Once we worked to overcome them, and possibly this part of the world, there's an unusual variation in language as well, so it's not like we can do it predominantly in English or Spanish or French. We've had to have a lot of translation. I've seen quite a few questions come through, and I'll pick up some of them in detail. But I'd like to introduce Omar at this point. Omar, if you could just introduce yourself and give a little bit about your research, because we've talked a lot about incineration, we've talked about how we can actually manage these wastes, and we're going to come back to that slide I talked about in a bit. But if you could just talk about your research focus and the alternatives possibly for the management of cytotoxic wastes.
Yes, okay, thank you, Anne, and thank you to the organization to invite me to participate in this seminar. I also participated in the project as an advisory expert. Well, I am a biologist. I am an expert on research and development management and also in biotechnology. And I am head of the R&D department of Athisa group based on Spain, South Spain. And as Anna introduced, I started my PhD on cytotoxic drug elimination from hospital wastewaters. And this is, we are looking for a method through advanced oxidation procedures to degrade the cytotoxic drugs. This is a kind of second stage of research that we already started some years ago in Spain, because we found a similar situation that you have nowadays, guys, in the Balkan countries, in the West Balkan countries. In South Spain, we don't have any technology to treat chemotherapy waste, cytotoxic waste. So we have to export it into South France or Germany. During many years, and we still are doing the same because research and development is not easy. So we were looking for alternatives to incineration to develop a method to treat this waste. Finally, together with the University of Granada and the University of Sevilla, we developed a method to treat chemically degrade the chemotherapy drugs. Okay, so nowadays we have a system and equipment to treat this kind of waste, and we are promoting it to install and work with it in different countries. Of course, we are trying to do it in Spain. We already got the environmental license, and we will have soon this equipment running in Spain. So this is the point. We need to find alternatives to incineration to promote this kind of solutions, always that they are safe and always that they are cost efficient, sure. Otherwise, we will not find a proper solution. About my PhD, I would say that what we are trying to do now is to focus on wastewater treatment. Oncology hospital wastewaters, they have also a quite important problem, as most of the chemotherapy drug is being eliminated by people who is being treated with this cancer treatment. And the drugs are ending up in the wastewater. So we are trying to solve this problem by treating this wastewater before they go to the sewage system, as the municipal wastewater treatment facilities, they cannot manage normally this kind of drugs. So this is the point right now that we are focusing.
I think that's interesting, because we're trying to currently capture the cytotoxic waste from delivery of medical treatment, the contaminated packaging, the contaminated sharps, the infusion bags. We haven't quite managed that globally yet, so to try to manage all the effluent and the wastewater as well, I think is another challenge. I'd like to just move on to the next question, which is again for everybody. How would you contextualize the challenges of cytotoxic waste with respect to the BaSWA Convention? Because unless we can actually treat in country, which we're going to have a little bit of a chat about in a bit, but while we can't treat in country, and while we don't have infrastructure inside countries, how can we safely package that under what's known as ADR, the European Agreement for Carriage of Dangerous Goods? We've got to collect it, segregate it, package it, and transport. How do you see that that is safely happening at the moment? I'll start with Viktor because he's looking very eager there, but then maybe we can ask between the other panelists, because I think this is a big issue. Now we know about it, we've got to do something about it.
Yes, thank you, Anne. Being also having an experience in exporting hazardous waste from Serbia, in particular, 300 tons of obsolete pharmaceuticals. I was involved in the BaSWA Convention, and I know what kind of challenge it can be to go through the documentation process only, notification process. The point of BaSWA Convention is absolutely fantastic, and all of these countries have been signatory parties to the BaSWA Convention. The thing is that the whole process is very slow. The whole process is very slow. It takes a lot of time, and simply following up these kind of procedure for such a short or small amounts of waste, relatively small amounts of waste, it can cause a headache to the operators or to the waste owner who has to do something with it. I can see also that there is a question of Hungary accepting waste from Bosnia. I must say that this is an old information, because nowadays, everything, not nowadays, but in the last 7-8 years, I assume, yeah, maybe 5, Boba is saying 5, everything goes to Austria. The waste coming from Kosovo and Albania, it goes into storage facilities of Polyeco in Greece, and then it is also transferred to the European incinerators. So having that in mind, we are generally somehow blinded as a countries to export the waste for incineration. We had some discussions with Omar. I had discussions with a lot of the dear friends of mine, including you, and you have been on that one, on those calls and talks. So is there any other possibilities? And one of the topic was how to avoid the problems, how to avoid the headache, but stay in the regular framework of the BaSWA Convention when you are either exporting waste or whatever you are doing with the waste eventually. The problem, as I said, the problem is that the process of getting the denotifications from the notification to permit, to export permit, is just taking too long. And many of the operators who are storing these waste is storing those waste for a longer period of time, which is again counter-beneficial in many regards, especially in the health and safety.
I'm just going
Thank you. Back to you, Anne.
No, I want to carry on with this with Daniela, Bojana and Boba, but I think one of the other challenges that people may not realise is that Kosovo is not part of the United Nations, in the sense that it's very difficult with respect to the BaSWA Convention anyway, which is a United Nations construct.
If I may add something, back in 2000, beginning of 2000s, there has been an effort from German government to export some chemical waste, I think, from Kosovo, and they were using the BaSWA Convention. So in an essence, it has to be done that way. You cannot smuggle the hazardous waste. I mean, it has to follow a certain practice and procedures.
Why a lot of it is stored.
That the operators and we, the people from the waste management sector, are really eager to follow those procedures as much as possible. The problem comes with not the problem, but the issue is mainly with the regulators and maybe communication between the country's focal points. This is what causes certain delays and additional headaches.
Can I come now to maybe Daniela? Is this an issue you've again come across, the problems of the challenging of its applicability under BaSWA and also under the transport regulations?
Yes, I agree with Viktor, and I think that he explained everything. It's a very complicated procedure. Maybe it's a term of the take documents for the transport. Even for one country, it's 1.5 years. That it's need a lot of efforts and a lot administration problems in that case.
And Bojana, is that something that you are also struggling with in your region within Serbia? Is this something that the whole, even explaining to people what it is, and once you start to explain the hazards within it, at that point it becomes even more difficult to transport? I think yeah.
Yes, I'm connected. I have a problem with my connection, sorry.
Don't worry.
What is the question?
The question was, in Serbia, have you had problems or trying to explain to people the nature of the problem with cytotoxic waste and how it should be packaged and why it should be exported and not just, or why it should be managed and treated rather than just stored? So the practicalities of getting a solution in place, really.
Yes, but in Serbia, we developed national bylaw related to healthcare waste management, and the legislation is not entirely implemented, or certain technical operational capacity in this facility full potential. They know, but they do not implement all measures of legislations.
So sorry, we had not only connectivity problems there, but I think we also understand the complexities of trying to
Sorry,
move cytotoxic.
do you hear me?
It's a little bit in and out, so I'm just going to summarize just to say that we feel that there have been challenges with the complexities of the nature of the waste and also how it's packaged and moved and where it can be.
Do you hear me?
We do now. We have a few issues. I'm going to move on to the next question.
So, Anne, sorry, can I add our main problem regarding this? No, I just want to add, because regarding all these things that the colleagues said, for example, we have here also the problem with reporting, because the institutions are paying for this service to the third parties, and they need to have a license to treat and to transport this kind, or to export this kind of waste. But then we do not get the feedback, the information, how much waste they are exported, and is this quantity of waste treated how it's supposed to treat. So there is no feedback from for example, the third parties to the relevant authorities about the final end of the disposal and treatment of this cytotoxic or chemical or pharmaceutical waste. So we have big problems with final reporting, and I think this is a big issue, because inspection controls needs to be much more involved in this problem, to solve this problem. Yeah.
So while you're still got your microphone and not muted, what do you see as the longer term regional changes? What would you suggest for the Western Balkans? And I'm going to come to everybody as well, but what do you see for the regional changes?
Well,
what do you think would be?
Yeah, well, sustainable healthcare waste management presents significant challenge in the countries in transition. Bosnia is in transition, so to say, and the challenges are mainly related with achieving the necessary standards, especially in management of hazardous healthcare waste streams that are generated in smaller rates than the infectious waste, but requires very expensive handling or treatment technologies. So there are many countries that do not possess appropriate treatment technologies, and this waste stream is neglected and disposed improperly. So this is a really big problem. So as we put in our slides, so that promoting resource efficiency through sustainable production and consumption is one of the things that we need to work on it. Then advancement of waste management through educating and training. We need to put more effort in public awareness about this problem. Then also as we are doing at the moment, organizing expert working groups to advance knowledge and expertise. So I think this is the best way that we can promote appropriate and best available technologies and practice. So networking and partnerships is, I think, it's crucial for our region.
I have to say I agree. So in terms of this being a Western Balkan, Omar, did you want to add to that?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was considering that this report and this project in the second stage will be very useful to make proposals, not to propose what are the possible solutions for the short term. That I agree that for the short term we need to find these Basel Convention agreements between the regional countries around to safely transport this waste to be eliminated in the close countries. But for the mid-time or the long-term regional changes, I would suggest to find fixed solutions. Like it could be either installing a fixed treatment facility for the whole region. As the quantities are small, but the risk is very high, we would need to find a local solution to treat this chemotherapy waste. And also, I was talking to Viktor. I don't know who he is trying to reconnect, I think. I was thinking that maybe we could find a transportable solution, technology that could work in each country, treat the waste that is being produced at each country, but the technology could be transportable. That's another approach that we were considering for other countries. We did a project for Turkey. We didn't implement it, but I think that this approach could be useful, and at least we have to take it into account for the long-term solution for these small areas with small quantities, but in different locations.
Which brings me very nicely on to my next question, which is, do you think there are some similarities with other countries of a similar economic development that we could start to say that these are appropriate technologies?
Yeah.
We are not just talking about incineration technologies, although we are currently limited for alternative treatment technologies for the management of cytotoxic waste because of the complex nature of the chemicals. So, Boba, do you think that there are similarities that we've got with the Western Balkans that could perhaps be transposed to other economically similar areas?
Yeah, definitely. I think that all low-income countries or countries in transition have this problem. So I think so. So this is a really good example that regional cooperation can really work. So we are trying to make better and safer ambient for living, place for living. Waste and pollution do not know anything about country borders and nationalities as well. So if it comes into the ground through our rivers, it will travel and get in Serbia or Montenegro, Adriatic Sea, and will pollute our fish, and we will export it in other countries. So it's not just our problem, it's generally the problem. So I think we showed everyone that if there is a willingness, so we can work together and find the best solution for us.
That's brilliant. And I think we are having some connectivity issues. We see, we have Daniela back.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. We've lost Bojana and we've lost Viktor for the moment, and hopefully they can reconnect with us. Yes.
I would like to say that also I agree with the opinion of Boba. I would like to focus on the big problem that we have when we are not segregating properly the chemotherapy waste from the infectious waste. We are seeing that in countries like Morocco or Turkey, where they have been for many years without any treatment facility specific for chemotherapy waste. So at the end, everything was mixed together the chemotherapy waste with the infectious waste, it was being autoclaved, in producing many exposure risks to the workers, and also producing the environmental impact, because this chemotherapy, these cytotoxic drugs, they cannot be eliminated by autoclave.
That's correct, yeah.
Indeed.
And that does answer one of the questions that's come through on the question and answer, actually. An autoclave will not denature the cytotoxic properties of those wastes. So, as I say, I think we're starting to gather people back again. I'm just going to move on to the next question because I'm quite conscious of time. So, do you think this follows the trends in that we've got 20 minutes left? I'd like to spend another few minutes just wrapping these up. Then we'll do a quick summary and we'll go back to the slide 38 that I mentioned, and then we'll take some questions from the floor. So do you think this is a trend in other parts of the world? What are the trends? Have you started? If you haven't spotted them, then we'll move on. But do you think there are trends with cytotoxic wastes in other parts of the world? I'm quite happy to pick that up. We are seeing an increase. We're seeing an increase in the use of chemotherapy drugs as more people live longer. So we're starting to see more of these drugs. So we're starting to see an increase. So in my opinion, I think we do have to really focus on these and ensuring that they are correctly segregated at source and that they are managed appropriately and correctly. So yeah. To draw some conclusions, I'm actually going to do like avert your eyes. So I'm just going to skip back to slide 38 because I think that's quite a relevant slide. And with our other slight upsets earlier, we have some possible solutions and strategies. So I'd like each of the speakers just to give like 2 minutes just on this slide and also their wrap up for this particular part of the panel. Thank you. So if we start with Boba, if that's okay, if you could just give me like 2 minutes on your summary. Thank you.
Well, as we said before, so there is a chance for the improvement if there is a willingness to do something. So we listed like 4 main topics and for the improvement. So establishment of organizational coordination department within the existing capacities that will deal with the waste within the healthcare system. So we talk about like a focal point that is for healthcare waste inside the hospital, to know what they are doing and you know, or to whom they can address if they don't know something. So then export coordination of the hazardous waste in the region. I think this is a good basis because, you know, we are through to ISWA and national members from ISWA. I think this is like a good basis for coordination, regional coordination, all kinds of waste, not only cytotoxic waste. So nationally reliable licensed operators who will collect waste from the individuals generated, manage certain hazardous waste storage, will apply for the export permits. Sometimes we are not aware how much licensed operators we have in our country. So because people do not have all the information they need. So I think it's a really main point to get officially database, mainly in Bosnia, to know how much of waste, what to do with it, and who can deal with this kind of waste. And then also it is a big issue, effective and economical shipment, because money is always problem in low-income countries and countries in tradition. We can say, oh, we need to do this, we need to go to have incinerations and chemical degradation, but then at the end the financial issue is the biggest issue for countries, low-income countries. So we need to take that also into account.
Thank you very much. Daniela, can I look at your perspective from the Macedonian perspective and anything else you can contribute? Because we've lost a couple of speakers, I'm afraid, through internet.
I agree with Boba in everything what she said, and I just mentioned that we need maybe the better quality of the education of the trainer of the on medical staff for cytotoxic waste for the medical person and everyone who involved in the process of cytotoxic treatment, and also the raising awareness for the needed of proper treatment of cytotoxic waste. All another, it's the same like Boba says. We have a financial problem to establish the real system, and that is a problem for all the region. It's not only Macedonia, and also in Albania, and also in Kosovo, and everywhere. I will just mention that.
Yeah, and I think that, as I say, the work that we have done and the brilliant work that the project has delivered has shown that this is a problem that is translatable across the globe.
And I like just to ask Omar, because Viktor, it's split with me some great idea. Maybe it's a good opportunity for the future for the small countries that we don't need the big facility for treatment, the specific waste stream. So I think that this idea it's brilliant, and I like Omar to just represent it as this kind of cooperation maybe for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, yes, I was thinking that we have done important work, that is to have a picture of the situation, diagnosis of the situation that is nowadays occurring in these countries. And now we have to find a way to make it, or to propose solutions that are cost efficient, so the financial side can be solved if we prove that it will be profitable to implement this kind of treatment facilities or technologies. It's true that the quantity is small. Then we need to analyze the cost of transportation to third countries against the cost of local treatment with these technologies. We need to make this, to bring it to a next step, that is the economical issue, and make even a business plan, let's say, to try to find a solution that is feasible in the technical and the economical side. And we are open to help in this side. We can help to find a solution, either with our technology or either with other technology. And I mean, we can work as experts and put on the table what is in the market and try to find a solution. So yes, yes, please, Daniela, consider our help for the future projects. We will be happy to cooperate.
Thank you.
And I think that's brilliant. I thank you very much for the collaboration. We've seen that this whole project has been a very collaborative effort from ISWA members, from people without outside ISWA as well. I'm just going to run through some questions from the floor. So we've had a question on, does Hungary accept healthcare waste from Bosnia? And I think that question has been answered. We've also discussed different technologies. So are there other technologies other than hazardous waste incineration and cement kiln? Limited at the moment. One of the questions was also around autoclave. Autoclave is not an effective treatment for cytotoxic, cytostatic waste. It really needs some sort of chemical degradation or heat degradation in order to break those bonds to prevent the environmental damage from any escape of those wastes. A very quick question for the panel. Probably I'm going to keep a little bit quiet for now because it's a question about COVID-19 waste, and I'm sure people have heard me speak on this a number of occasions now. So what other types of medical waste are there? Well, I would refer people to the Blue Book for that. But have you seen a downward trend or any trends in the chemotherapy wastes and the cyto wastes whilst we're in the current COVID pandemic? Anyone?
May I try to answer this question?
Of course.
For example, I can only speak with Macedonia since I'm locked here and I cannot travel anywhere else. In regards with our healthcare system, what happened was that they have stopped all the surgical, basically, departments and activities, but chemotherapy, not chemotherapy, cancer therapy remained as ongoing activity, so it didn't affect the waste generation of the cytotoxic waste. So there was no movement in the numbers. Eventually, all the patients that has to go through a cancer treatment therapy, they were going and they were submitted to it without any differences whether we are talking about COVID or not. Eventually, we have defined several COVID centers all across the state, where the mandatory and where the necessary care for COVID patients was given. But as the numbers incline and as everything is progressing, more and more are still open, and still the elective surgery is not performed on to level as it used to be before that. So in regards with numbers, and I have also spoke with some colleagues who are basically treatment operators here in Macedonia. In regards with numbers, yes, there was an increasement of number, but generally related with the PPE from COVID activities. But it was a very slight increasement. Now we are expecting something to go up once the elective surgeries restarted again. In regards with the cytotoxic waste and the clinical and the oncology centers, they are running as business as usual. There has been no stop over there. Maybe they have evolved some certain procedures related with examination of the patients on COVID, but in principle, everything goes as it is.
I think we're finding very similar in the UK. Is that similar for Boba and Daniela, Omar? That a lot of the oncology, a lot of the cytotoxic medications are still being produced, but in addition to that, we're now seeing an increase in the PPE waste as well. I've got a question here. Are there any new recommendations when handling cytotoxic waste in hospitals before putting it in the waste? So any new recommendations? I'm not aware of anything new.
As a consequence from the COVID crisis?
No, just in general. They said, are there new recommendations for handling cytotoxic wastes? But it's always something that should have fallen under occupational health and safety as well. So we should have always had those correct PPE, correct the gloves, the masks.
Well, if you ask me, occupational health and safety is not enough. It is always going to be not enough. There's always something better than you can provide, or even the institutions can provide better materials, better health and safety tools, whatever. And I think that this is a concept that needs to be and deserves to be explored in further ways, not only related with the waste management, but actually the management of the active ingredients, which are very high level with the toxicity.
It's not just waste; it's production as well.
Throughout working throughout all of these hospitals across the world. I mean, I saw chemotherapy prepared without assistance of safety hoods or fume cabinets. I have seen scary things, and basically nurses just having the side effect of the cytotoxic agent, and this is just something that is directly related with the occupational health and safety. And I think that this is a topic that can be always improved. With the waste, reach until one level, but with the health and safety, we need to go always up and forward.
I just want to add one sentence that Viktor once said to me when we were talking. He said, I am not afraid of the waste. I'm afraid of the people, because sometimes people are forgetting, how this hazardous and dangerous is. They are working this on daily basis, and sometimes they just forget how dangerous is this. So the new thing is an old thing. Just be very careful, and don't forget which waste are you dealing with, and it's really dangerous if you are not doing it properly.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would like to say that our colleague Edward Krisiunas, he just posted a link about safe handling. I would like to say that he was also one of the advisory experts for the report, but he could not join us.
Beat me to it. I was going to thank everybody at the end, but thank you, Ed. I've got a very quick question here. Which R&D code does the cytotoxic waste go to Greece on? Is it a specific RD code? So is it a recovery code or a destruction code? Is that something we can answer?
I'm not aware of
It
that
depends where
information.
it's going. I mean, if you've got an energy recovery facility, it might go as an R1. If it's not an energy recovery, it might be a D10.
Yes, in principle, everything is how it leaves Greece.
So it is what happens to it when it gets there.
Yeah.
Another specific question, possibly for you, Daniela. We are banned by law in Albania, 2011, amended in 2013, to export hazardous waste. In your report, you mentioned that it was exported. There are 3 companies that are licensed for waste collection and export. Can you explain this issue? So we're saying that waste export is banned, but we've mentioned that in Albania it has been exported.
Yeah, I leave my assistant to answer this question because she is the best.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
So for Albania, because we have information collected from the official reports, actually, so we have 3 companies from Albania that are licensed for waste collection and export, right? One of them is Polyeco, and the company with solid reputation and pedigree. The waste is usually collected and exported to Greece for storage and further incineration in other EU countries. So we have this kind of information. Maybe we should contact, I've seen that in the chat, we had a name, actually a person. We can contact Teida Shea for actually more information about the subject, because in the report we had this information. So for more accurate information, we can actually contact Teida. Thank you so much. So we can share more information further. Thank you.
That was a very specific regional question. So we have a statement here as well from Daniel McDonald, who says healthcare waste is increasing exponentially with the use of disposable single-use and plastic-based products. What efforts have been made in 1, addressing the increase in medical disposables, and 2, consider biodegradable materials for medicinal products or medical products, reducing the necessity for incineration? It's a really good question. It's something that's been addressed at a global level, but it's not relevant for the cytotoxic aspects because we're dealing specifically today with the cytotoxic. It's a wider concept. It is something that is thought about, should be thought about from design through circular economy. Just because it's medical waste doesn't mean we can't engage with the circular economy and reduction in single-use plastics, but it's not the focus of today's seminar. So maybe that's an idea for another project. We'll see how we go with that. But as I say, I'm not going to focus on that today because it's not really today's subject area. Concerning, I think this one might be for everybody again, concerning the hospital wastewater management, how effective is anaerobic treatment system, the open lagoon system? Most of our hospitals are still employing that system, and I think for just normal biological and organic waste it's fine, but I'm not sure for cytotoxic waste that's an appropriate water management. Is there anything you've got to comment specifically, Omar, on that one, please? And Viktor's also waiting.
There was a European funded project several years ago. It was named PILS. It was handling Holland, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Germany, I think, where they were actually looking for an exact chemical compound of cytotoxic compounds of cytotoxic agents into the wastewater stream. So as if I remember correctly, the kind of like a conclusion of that project was that first, the drug metabolized within the body with a serious factor. So basically, in the human effluent, you can find really limited traces of these chemical compounds. Basically, they were looking for chemicals from the drugs, and they were not affecting the wastewater stream in that form and in that quantity. So it was accepted that the municipal wastewater treatment will or maybe do the job without any problem, as long as there is no disposal of drugs itself into the stream. So basically, the human body consumes, metabolizes all the waste, all the materials from the pharmaceutical drug, from the cytotoxic agent that is given to the person. So everything that goes out is considered as trace contamination, and it's relatively safe.
And we have to accept that that will be happening for a lot of people who will be medicated at home, and we can't capture those water.
Exactly.
I'm also conscious we have like 1 and a bit minutes left. Omar, very quickly, then you've got like 15 seconds.
To say, I wanted just to say that there was a project in Spain about biological treatment of hospital oncology wastewaters using fungi. I can find out the references and share it with James, so he can go deep in this issue.
And that's brilliant. We've also had a question from Raj. He wondered whether we would be able to possibly share the questionnaire that you've used for the hospitals. So we've got people that are interested in looking like replicating this. So all that remains is for me to say thank you so much for all the hard work that's gone into this project. It's been quite a long time in the making. The collaboration has been fantastic. Being part of this project has been an absolute privilege for me. So it remains for me to thank all the people that have participated this afternoon, all the people that have been engaged with the whole seminar. Thank you very much. There's been some fantastic technical detail there. Feel free to access the report. Feel free to join ISWA. Feel free to come along with us on this journey. So it remains for me to say thank you very, very much from ISWA and from me and Woolridge. Thank you.